So in today's panel, we're going to talk about, so the title is like Platform 2.0, Supercharging Portfolio Value Add. And on stage with me, I have Erica Amatori, Senior Vice President at Left Lane Capital. If you want to join me on stage, Erica. Then we have Jules Nguyen, Portfolio Talent Lead at Galaxy Ventures. And then Gabriela Manrique, Partner at Angelini Ventures. Give them a hand of applause. Alrighty, so I have a long list on how to present them, but I thought that probably they're going to do a better job than I will. So, Erica.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. As he said, I'm the Senior Vice President of Platform at Left Lane Capital. Essentially provide all of our portfolio companies with all the resources they need, from growth to go-to-market, to advisors, independent board members, talent. And if you are unfamiliar with Left Lane, it's okay. We are 5 years old as a firm. We're about $2 billion of assets under management and spun out of Insight Partners and invest in consumer and internet technology companies.
Hey everyone, I'm Jules. I lead the talent program at Galaxy Ventures. We are a fund focused on crypto companies. Our whole portfolio is stage agnostic. We have about 1.2 billion AUM. And our thesis is around kind of payments and wallet infrastructure. And I help our portfolio companies with everything from people, talent, hiring, branding, so anything that has to do with their employees.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabriela Manrique. I'm a partner with Angelini Ventures. Angelini Ventures is a corporate venture fund. It's the venture fund for one of Italy's largest pharmaceutical companies. We invest across biotech, medtech, and digital health. We have a first fund that's a 300 million euro fund deployed equally across the US and Europe, and equally across biotech and then digital health. And our second and third funds will have an Asia focus, and those are just starting to be set up.
Wonderful, thank you guys. So what I like about this panel is that we have consumer, then we have crypto, and then we have medtech, biotech. So I was wondering, what does it mean value add for you guys? And what does platform mean in the context of your firm?
Yeah, I can be first for that one. So since we are investing in consumer companies, it means really helping them with growth. So that's looking at all of their paid acquisition channels or organic channels. I'm going to make a comparison to Insight just because it's easy. They invest in enterprise software, so they have a huge go-to-market and sales team, whereas we usually have, a larger growth team, if you will. But what it really means is finding the ROI and driving the revenue and facilitating revenue for our companies at the end of the day. And how you do that is through their growth engines, through their sales engines. And so that's where we concentrate most of our value. As well as people and talent, because that is the highest need across any company, is growing a team if you're a Series A, B, C, or D company. And so we really measure any introductions we make and how many of those introductions actually formalize over the years.
Yeah, and at Angelini, we aspire to play in all of those areas. We're a newer fund, so we've only been in business for 2 years. And so our platform team is very focused on internal services at this time. So we're very focused on enabling our investment team to make sure that they're data-driven, that all of their activities are automated, to make sure that they are building a brand, and that they have access to experts. So I would say that 80% of the time today of our platform team is spent supporting the investment team. And then the balance is focusing on the portfolio companies and primarily on talent acquisition, talent strategy, and access to expert network.
If you want to add anything? No. Yeah, and also you mentioned talent, and also you mentioned finding the right experts. Like, how do you guys go about finding the right talent? And what is the tool stack that, let's say, you're using?
I think when it comes to attracting the right talent, our approach has been heavily founder-led. There's only so much we can do, providing them the tools, the tactics, and the introductions. Ultimately, founders are going to be the best recruiters for their own companies. So we lean heavily on them to do their part and really establish that, it's that partnership piece again. So for us within crypto, for example, our engagement is heavily based on Twitter. So what I'll do is partner with the founders to draft posts for them on behalf of their companies and their personal pages to really drive kind of their job postings, critical roles, and get that engagement going. I'll also work with their marketing and communications teams to get all of the hiring updates into the content marketing calendar so that anytime they're doing a PR event or they're doing a podcast, that hiring is plugged into it. So it's really kind of like making sure that they're weaving recruiting into everything that they're doing on a day-to-day.
Do you guys want to add it? So feel free to. So let's focus on scaling support. As your portfolio grows, how do you decide which companies get more tailored attention?
Yeah, so we have 90 portfolio companies right now. Obviously, that's a lot for our team to handle and actually deliver value at the same level. We kind of have made a formula that includes percentage ownership. So how much of that company do we own? We usually strive to own 15 to 20% of our companies. We always want to lead and we always want to be on the board. But some of our companies, that didn't happen. And so what percentage of ownership, performance of the company, how well are they doing? What's their year-over-year growth? What does that revenue look like? And then stage is a really big proponent as well, right? People have this connotation that earlier stage companies need more help. That is not true. We have a lot of Series C and D companies we invest in that need a lot of help across every function. It's just how willing the founder and the C-suite team are to kind of accept that help. It's a push and pull, right? So we actually have quarterlies with over 50% of our companies, which is very out of the ordinary. I'd say a lot of VC firms don't do that because it's a lot of work, and that's just with my team. It's not even including the investment team where they have the board meetings and such. And then we basically record all of the to-dos and asks and work on those every single quarter and deliver that value forward and track all of it going forward as well. It took like 2 to 3 years to actually build the systems that track that, as well as get a place where the founders respect our team enough to give that time. But I would say if you're an earlier stage fund, you can't expect as much willingness to support as like a later stage fund that has more ownership as well.
The company stage for us also drives a lot of the divisional labor in terms of what companies we focus on. We're seeing the same trend where our later stage companies need more help because they start to run into issues of, for example, market access. Right? So the earlier stage companies are in clinical development and they have access to the scientists they need through our expert network. Once they start to mature and they start to run into complex regulatory issues and start to think about how to get from the lab to the patient so they get to a more mature stage, that's where they really need us. And that's where they really want us to lean in, make introductions to like our pharma contacts, our corporate, our strategic partners in pharmaceuticals or other areas of healthcare. So we're seeing the same trend where our more mature companies need us to lean in even more, and that's driving how we are dividing our time across the portfolio.
Yeah. One more thing you can do in order to scale knowledge across all portfolio companies is content. So myself, our head of growth, our talent person, like we have a team, right? I have them produce 3 pieces of content every quarter that are on the most asked upon topics, and that way we can scale that content forward to the rest of the portfolio. Let's say one of our companies has a huge success story. We make a case study out of that success story or out of those insights and pass that along to our companies so they can replicate it.
I just wanted to add that if you're a smaller founder here, you're maybe seed stage, Series A, don't be shy. You know, we obviously have our winners and our losers in the portfolio, but speak up. We can't help you if you don't know you need the help, so don't be shy. If you don't speak up, we're not going to know that you need support. So I would just add that too, just reach out to us, even no matter your stage or size.
Speak up, I like that. So about speaking up, how do you guys go about founder communities? I know that some VCs, they do choose to have a Slack community, some VCs choose not to have the Slack community. If you choose to have a community, how do you make that community engaging?
So at Galaxy, we're fortunate to have crypto be such a global community. So for us, our strategy is really focusing on more intimate, focused events. So we host a lot of events ourselves and co-host with our portfolio companies across the world. We have our signature format is a dinner series called Constellations, and yeah, it's a really popular event. We cap it at 30, 40 folks max, and it's a highly curated invite list of founders, investors, ecosystem players. We try to connect them all in kind of meaningful ways. And the goal of the Constellation series is really not about scale, but more about depth. So every interaction is very intentional. We pay attention to all the details from, you know, even the seating chart. So we try to get together, you know, media, builders, operators, other founders, and, you know, we might group a founder who's about to do a funding announcement next to a journalist, or even two of our portfolio companies together that can partner or cross-sell to really drive those connections. And then we also even put a big emphasis on kind of facilitation and management. These are really curated dinners at, you know, high-end venues with great food and beverage, so that the environment that you're in also matters. We think that ultimately, if we get the right people in the right room, these events for us, it's more about building tighter relationships than kind of like a larger Slack channel or Telegram channel kind of thing.
I have so many thoughts on community. Before Left Lane Capital, I was at a seed stage firm called Alpaca VC, formerly Corigin Ventures. Has anybody heard of it? Yes, I see some nods. They all are seed stage founders, right? So they are all running around with their heads chopped off, not knowing what to do. They're extremely green. So they always ask each other questions, and we had a Slack channel as well as a community forum. Most engaged Slack channel I've ever seen in my life in terms of community. Now at Left Lane Capital, obviously we have a massive arrangement of Series A to D founders that we invest in across all different industries. And so they don't want to lean on each other. All of their problems are so unique and so different. And so how we form community is so much different than early stage firms. It's really, you know, like intimate events combined with a very industry sector approach and verticalized approach. Thrive Capital does this exact same thing. I was like, you guys are like us. Like, what do you guys do? They're like, we have never explored a Slack channel. We have never made like one of those executive portals. And they really focus on the same thing, which is intimate gatherings to bring founders together. And we host an annual CEO summit. It's just CEOs of all of our companies. I think that's our most look forward to event across our portfolio. It's 3 days long, and it brings all of our CEOs together in one place so they can actually share insights and bond.
Do you want to add anything?
Nope.
No? I was wondering on this CEO summit, how do you guys decide on the topics? Is it something that, let's say, you gather through the year, and then you kind of make an agenda? How do you decide on the curriculum in a way?
Yeah, I think it's relevant topics like how do you leverage AI across your portfolio? That's the biggest question across VC and founders today, right? It's what does a proper acquisition process look like? I think every single founder is interested in that. And then it's around breaking kind of your founders into groups relevant either stage-wise or industry-wise, whatever works best, and going from there. And also it's like just roundtables on like what are your biggest challenges to date, and whatever one pops up the most, like creating something larger out of that.
Yes, so the way we structure ours, again, similar format with the CEOs and other members of the senior leadership team at different companies, We try to provide settings that will educate them or bring awareness to global trends in the spaces that they operate, primarily healthcare systems, healthcare platforms, payer models, different therapeutic areas. So we'll invite healthcare experts to run some of those sessions on macro trends. We'll also invite people from banks, PE firms, to talk about the financial trends that are impacting those businesses in healthcare. And then we'll talk more specifically about clinical development in specific areas that are relevant to them. And then we'll talk about exits. We'll reflect on the financial activities that are relevant to them. We'll think about successful exits and what are the specific trends or things that made different companies successful, and we'll try to make time for them to connect with either strategics, with other investors, or with other ecosystem players that can add value to them. So that's how we think about it. Global trends, relevant topics, specific topics, and then opportunities to connect with others that will add value to them.
Awesome. And do you guys use any type of playbooks? Let's say go-to-market, branding, how to fundraise. This is the first part of the question. And then second, how do you make sure that those playbooks stay up to date?
Okay, I can answer this one. So yes, Left Lane's IP is very personalized to us and it's proprietary to us. How we make those playbooks is a variety of different ways. We have an advisor network. We interview those advisors, have an AI note taker on the call, and then I hand it to an editor who essentially makes a very detailed guide around that topic. And it's a very niche topic as well, so they can gain a lot of benchmarks and value outside of it. Otherwise, it's about finding hyper-relevant situations and writing about that and spreading it to the portfolio. Those are going to be the most downloaded. So like when Google changed their email policies and a lot of people was put in the spam box, saying how to get out of that box and then providing that to your founders. We just wrote a guide on how to leverage AI properly across go-to-market tools and sales and marketing, and that was highly downloaded, right? Because we went really deep and kind of outlined all the tools and how we would rank them and how our portfolio ranks them. I think it's also about asking your portfolio and anonymizing data and sending it back. So we send out an annual tech stack survey. So we get all of the tools that they're using, all the vendors they like, all the agencies they like. I anonymize that and make a report and then give it back to them, and that's very helpful to see what vendors scale over time, which ones don't. And then it's really about figuring out templates and frameworks as well that all companies need. So that's JDs, that's scorecard templates for interviews, that's budget and marketing forecast templates. Like, what are the templates that early stage companies really need to succeed?
I'll add to that. We also have a proprietary founder portal with all the resources in there for them to use, and we cover that in onboarding. But I think there's only so much you can do, right? Like, you can provide them all the resources, but you can't force them to use it. So what we try to do on top of that in terms of like these playbooks is we kind of do like a lunch and learn masterclass where we host these webinars. We invite advisors, other leaders in the space on relevant topics, and we kind of just do a monthly lunch and learn masterclass in that sense. And it's basically covering all the resources in the founder portal so that we know they're kind of utilizing it. And we get a pretty good attendance given that it's lunchtime. So we try to do that on top of just giving them all the material, because you can't force someone to do their homework, right?
So does that mean that you can give them all the material, but then you're not sure if they're going to use it? And then like one way, so it's just like the science of learning, or is like how can we make sure that you guys get this playbook understood?
Yeah, so I'll clarify. So we have all the resources in the portal, but it's up to them if they use it, right? And so we want to make sure it's useful to them. So we'll host the lunch and learn master classes to reinforce all the material that's already in there.
Right, got it. And
One more thing, I think it's also about reinforcing where it lives. So like, I think onboarding processes are very necessary for VC firms and saying, hey, this is what we can provide you. Here's our all of our resources we can give to you, because otherwise founders are not going to know what you as a VC firm can provide and what you cannot provide. So really going deep around that when onboarding them is important.
And where do you guys hold all these resources? So I remember, like when I was in VC, we did a session on pricing, and then this session kind of ended up somewhere in a drive folder somewhere that no one kind of knew about it. Where do you guys keep these files and make sure they are kind of easily accessible?
We have an intranet that can be accessed by the portfolio companies. So we basically created a data repository that they can access. And also we're really trying to drive this theme of self-service, self-advocacy and self-service. You have to tell us what you need, what we can help you with, and then in order to scale the services that we provide to the portfolio companies, we're asking them to self-serve and to make sure that they leverage this intranet to get the resources they need, and that they also leverage the workshops that we lead to ask questions and bring awareness to what's most helpful to them. So for example, and then we lead a survey at the end of the year that helps us gather information on how we drove most impact to the portfolio companies. So for example, coming out of 2024, the survey revealed that connecting them with experts in their therapeutic areas, training them on matters of intellectual property, AI, and org design were the most helpful areas. So we're doubling down on that this year. So I would say that surveying the portfolio companies and asking them how they're using the resources and what's most valuable to them is one way to gauge whether they're actually getting value out of those documents and materials that are put together. But yeah, I mean, it gets to a point where you can create them, you can offer them. It's up to the portfolio company to really leverage it and to show that there is a commitment to getting value out of the services that you're providing.
Yeah, it kind of seems that you need to have the right information at the right time, because if not, the founders, they just don't register that that information exists. And when it comes to measuring your platform efforts, how do you measure if all the efforts that you're doing are actually bearing fruit?
Yeah, so this is something that a lot of VC firms get wrong, is they provide a lot of value, but they don't measure it at all. So when your AGM annual general meeting comes, or you're meeting with LPs, you can't really contextualize or put numbers or quantitative data to all of the value you've given over the years. I would say what we do, and every VC firm does it differently, is we track all value additive introductions to our portfolio companies. So let's say I introduce a strategic investor that's now on the cap table, or an advisor, an executive that's now a C-suite for them, preferred partner intro or agency intro that they're now using. That goes into basically our database, and then monthly, each team member on our team gets an email that says, hey, you had 10 interactions or introductions this month, here's what they were any of these closed, or were any of these successful? And then they kind of go and do that, and at the end of the year, we download that report and make case studies from that. It took us a while to get there and to get like the investment team to adopt it. I think it's very easy for the platform team to have, or portfolio value team to have that top of mind, because our whole job is providing value to our portfolio companies, whereas investors are really like, here's the money, bye. And that's when, you know, you don't necessarily have a good investor. All investors should also be providing value after they give money, right? And then the second thing we track is CEO NPS, which you kind of were alluding to before. And that can be tracked across, we, for the first time this year, are tracking across separately the portfolio value team and the investment team, because we want to see the difference there. But regularly, we would just kind of lump sum that.
That's such an important point. The one about having the investment team be bought into the value that the platform team is delivering and being a champion for the services that we want to offer, because the investment team has the opportunity during a board meeting or in other settings to ask the portfolio company if, as they run into different challenges, they are leveraging the services that the platform team can offer. And so it's very important that the investment team have awareness of what we can do as a platform team and believe in the impact that those services can drive, because they're an advocate and someone that can have drive engagement from the portfolio company.
I agree with what both of my panelists have said, but one thing that I'll add is for us at Galaxy, we also look at kind of qualitative signals that we're adding value, and I think that means listening to what the founders are saying, and our goal is always to have them, ask us for things, not, requests, but for, referrals, things like that. So for us, if I listen in and I hear things like, oh, I told so-and-so to reach out to you because you guys did such a great job helping us on X, that's a signal we're adding value, and they're going to continue to refer folks in their network to us. Maybe we can get a deal done by that. So it's more of on the qualitative side besides the quantitative stuff.
And what does the post-investment process look like? You just mentioned that it's very important that they know all the help and playbooks that you guys have. What does the post-investment onboarding process look like?
For us, we do a onboarding intake meeting once the term sheet is signed, and that's where we introduce all of the platform offerings, the full scope of it, who's on the team, what their functions are, where our global offices are, where the founder resource portal lives, what's in it, how you can use it, and essentially kind of all the support that we can provide. But I think what's really important is I make it very clear to set boundaries during that meeting of what we can't do, right? So I can help you be strategic in hiring, but I won't be hands-on doing, setting up your ATS or helping you with your job board or things like that. So I think it's very clear at the very beginning to kind of set those expectations so that you can have more of a partnership moving forward versus like a dependency.
Our onboarding process, we actually try to make it a conversation versus like a presentation. Left Lane's investment memos are like 100 pages long. We obviously know everything about the company. It's not like a one-page like finger in the air, why are we investing? We like the founder. No, it's like we've looked at every single data point there is at this company. So as soon as the founder gets on the call, the question is really, what are your 3 biggest needs in the next 3 months? And that kind of goes really deep and gets that founder thinking about what are the highest priority items that we can work on as a team together. And then we kind of go deeper into like, okay, are you doing a fundraising release? What hires do you need, et cetera, et cetera. But before we even like bring up a presentation, it's really just a conversation. And the last thing I'll say, and I think I only learned this when I was at Left Lane, is this whole portfolio value thing, platform thing, it's not just a post-investment job. I think a lot of VCs make that mistake. Your portfolio value team should be adding value across the whole VC value chain. So that is fundraising. They obviously should be helping you fundraise. Like that is part of what LPs look for, is a strong portfolio value team. Sourcing, they should help you source, because any event that we do should bring in deal flow or hard to crack companies. Due diligence, we're all operators. Like I headed up growth at fintech and consumer companies before just going into VC, so I really help dig in there when investors are looking into companies. Winning the deal, I am not setting expectations. I'm like, we can do everything for you. And then there's obviously the post-investment growth part that we're known for. But I think a really good portfolio value lead helps across that whole chain.
Awesome. And what do you see in terms of cross-portfolio collaboration?
We're seeing it mostly in sharing of expert networks. So we're seeing portfolio companies share connections, sharing networking opportunities, pointing other portfolio companies to the right expert across, a specific functional area or a specific scientific area. We're also seeing it in terms of sharing information and referrals for vendors. across different areas. It could be technology vendors, people strategy vendors, science, CROs. So those are the main areas in which we're seeing collaboration, expert network, and vendor referrals.
For us, because our industry is so niche, there is a lot of cross-collaboration, whether it be they're splitting office space together or they're partnering on a deal together. I might have a wallet infrastructure company work with a stablecoin company. So I think our use case is a little bit different because it actually kind of enhances all the work that we're doing because they're all working together, and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think for us it's partnerships. It's like very easy, right, to think about. If you have an expense management platform or a bank in your portfolio, we have ARC. We try to get all of our portfolio companies to use it. If we have, let's say, Prenuvo, that's like the MRI scan that's really popular nowadays. We have sports leagues, and we try to get our sports leagues to promote Prenuvo to their healthy audiences. So it's kind of just around connecting the dots and having a very deep understanding of your portfolio companies to begin with.
And what do founders really need? So what they think they need, and then you kind of look at a case and like, nah, we think that actually you need something else. Like, do you have those examples?
You're saying like they think they need something and you're like, no, you're wrong?
Yeah, no, like in a sense, like you have a playbook and you're like, well, we actually think that this is actually what you need right now.
I think that's a delicate dance.
I mean, like every founder wants to think that they are unique and they are on this unique trajectory, whereas like maybe you've seen this over and over again. And it's like, well, there is this playbook, which I'm pretty confident that will help you.
Honestly, I know this is a harsh answer, but like VCs are known for pattern recognition. And if a founder is not coachable and they say, you know, no, I believe this is the correct way forward, you let them play it out. I mean, they own majority of their company still. What can you do? You're not a PE firm, you're a VC firm. And to those that are PE, nice. But the most we can do is get to a point where like, if the ship is going down, the board is like, okay, we need to do some replacements, I would say. But you don't really get to that point unless it's really bad.
I would say, kind of broadly speaking, it's kind of like that teach a man to fish analogy, right? For us, it's kind of like shifting founders' mindset from can you do this for me to can you help me do this better and faster? I think that's where the platform team adds the most value and makes the most impact, and it's more sustainable that way. So it's, you know, not necessarily like one thing, it's just shifting their whole entire mindset of, you know, how they work with us.
I agree 100%. We see this as well with portfolio companies asking us to help them replicate what maybe another successful portfolio company has done in a specific area. And we'll always be happy to do that, but we'll always also ask the question of whether they shouldn't think about being a bit more disruptive in their own space, and whether there isn't a need for them to think about doing the same thing a bit differently, because you know there's a unique innovation or disruption that they can bring to their space. So we're trying to be helpful, but also challenge the companies to maybe, you know, try to do things differently, and remind them that we invested in them because we were expecting them to bring innovation to their space, particularly in healthcare where there's so many legacy models that are ripe for disruption. So we're seeing that. We're seeing them ask us for, okay, help us do what you did with this other company. And we're saying, we'll help you, but we'll also challenge you to think about different ways in which you could maybe create a model for others to follow.
And also, platform teams are expected to do a lot. What's the bottleneck you wish someone would solve for you tomorrow? Yeah, so platform teams are usually tiny and expected to do a lot. What's the bottleneck you wish someone would solve for you tomorrow?
I think as your team grows over time, there's silos that happen between the portfolio value team and the investment team. So I think having kind of consistent knowledge share between those two is super important. And that's why having either a VP of data or someone outsourced or, you know, a really good tech platform as a VC firm is so important. And then I think the other thing that would help is just general awareness to investment partners on portfolio value and the effects and the ROI that comes out of that. On vcplatform.com, this is a shameless plug because I'm on the board, they have an amazing report that's all around what is the ROI that comes out of portfolio value teams across early stage to late stage VC firms. And they basically surveyed over 1,000 VC firms. It's an amazing report, and I show it to every single investment partner I can to like generate more awareness of the actual ROI that comes out of these teams. But the thing is, like, some VC firms like that are early stage, you need to convince them tooth or nail to give the team resources, and if you don't end up giving them resources and just hire like a one-man or woman show, you're not going to get that ROI out of it as much as another firm will.
I'm a big fan of vcplatform.com. Big fan. I'm mostly overwhelmed by all the work that other people are doing across that I haven't done yet, but I'm learning a ton from being part of that community. I think investing in systems will give you leverage to be able to scale your programs and your offerings with a small team. For us, investing in our tech stack and automation has been incredible. I mean, starting with our investment in Vestberry and in a CRM has given us a lot more bandwidth and capability to offer more services without expanding the team. We're a team of 4. And so I would say systems, AI, I have to say it, automation is a great way to make sure that you can scale without doubling the size of your team.
Alrighty, so VC platform 2 for 1, only today if you buy. Alrighty, this was not funny. So we have some questions right here. Where do you get the expertise how to best help your PCs? Do you have people on your teams who worked at successful startups before? So where do you get the expertise for your portfolio companies? Do you have in your network people that have been at successful startups before? Or do you, for example, use a TGUS or other expert networks?
We have, I mean, it's a variety of things. We do use TGUS and expert networks, but that's mainly for diligence. I would say we try to hire ex-operators always. Like none of the team that I hired came from like directly from other VC firms. I hired them from companies because I wanted them to have that operator's experience. But also, I think everybody at the firm had a past. Like, I worked for a lot of companies. I also worked for a VC firm, which means that portfolio, I know all of the founders of that portfolio still. Same with the managing partners at Left Lane. They worked at Insight. They know all of the founders at Insight still. So we really leverage our networks and kind of have this centralized network within Left Lane where we can make those right expert connections.
At Angelini, a significant part of the investment team are operators, and so we have the benefit of being able to offer that to the team. And then within the platform team, we're all former operators, with the exception of our communications manager, who came from VC, and I thought that she could add tremendous value because she knew exactly what branding activities would be most helpful to having our investment team be very attractive, build a brand in the investment space that would be very attractive. But primarily is the fact that most of us are former operators, but then the expert network that we've tried to build across the science and other core capabilities that we know will be helpful for our portfolio companies. So I would say the expert network. We also have a fellowship program. It's an internship program, but we staff it with either PhD, postdoc, or MDs. And so you're already getting very sophisticated expertise in the form of an intern or a fellow who could be taking an interim role in a portfolio company or could do an expert advisor session with them. So I think the expert network and the fellowship program have been 2 tools that have been pretty helpful to us.
And I really like the second question. How big are your portfolio value add teams? And also if you want to talk about budget or costs.
Mine is just 4 people. We have a communications person, we have a finance, back office, capital deployment type of people strategy. I play that role. And then we have a market access, like very specific to the healthcare space, a clinical development type of, and a medical director, which is very helpful to portfolio companies.
I would say not big enough. Our team is 3 folks. Myself, I have a marketing and comms counterpart and a designer as well. I feel like I will also second Erica's endorsement of vcplatform.com. I think they did a report recently where they said platform teams have grown like 24% year over year in size, right? Not big enough. I think you need to really invest in a platform team these days if you want to stand out and have a successful portfolio. You can't just rely on your LP's network or things like that anymore. It really does take a village.
Yeah, mine is 5, and then I have 2 agencies as well.
What's the big set of macro waves you see which will impact multiple investments? Examples, stablecoin for banks, AI, GLP, etc. This is not very a platform-like question, is it?
For us, definitely stablecoins. I think that's a trend that we're seeing, and we're seeing a lot of non-crypto funds kind of FOMO investing now, jumping on the wave. There was a big billion-dollar acquisition recently with Visa, so that's a big trend. But I would say in general, another runner-up would be RWAs, putting real-world assets on chain. We have one company that's doing that, putting real estate, commodities on chain. They just got another big investment from Apollo, so I would say stablecoins and RWAs.
From a consumer angle, like in health tech, I would say preventative health care versus reactive health care is huge right now. That's probably the biggest area we're looking to invest in right now. And then high retention consumer products, not ones where it's like a one-time buy.
Would you embed the platform team in the investment team? If not, why not?
I don't know what that means.
I mean, the closest we've come to it is in our team, there are people who wear both hats. So I'm both, for example, an investor and the head of platform. And I think that we might have that going on with 2 members that we just onboarded because they're former operators that have very deep expertise in a functional area that can be helpful to our portfolio companies, but they're very good investors. So I think that's how I see it playing out. I don't think I can't think of any other way in which we would try to be intentional at merging the teams, but if someone wants to do both jobs, we'll take it.
Cool. Thank you, guys.